Hey, just Rando here. Since the advent of Computer GUI, or the computer HUD for those gamers, we have been using apps to get extra functionality. Many apps that were used back in the day were first party, and was what you got for the product's lifecycle. Some apps were essential, some were for entertainment. Now we sometimes look back at the apps that we appreciated but didn't know at the time. And that's what I want to talk to you about. Windows apps that we liked. I will only be talking about built-in apps and first-party apps that were included with Windows. A file manager is one of the most basic things you can get with an OS, but can be enjoyable with good features and ease of use. File Explorer came out in the year 1995 with Windows 95. It was a file manager that did what it needed to, and for the most part never got questioned. Best example of this is in the form of a question. Did you know that you could use a different file manager? Like files, which gained popularity in small group of enthusiasts lately. Just because alternatives are not in people's minds doesn't mean Windows doesn't try to improve its apps. Over time, it would improve with features like visual updates, tabs, more file previews, and support for 7-zip and tar files. Most updates would change the code, but it's nice when we have visual and quality of life updates that didn't need to be added. File Explorer had very few issues, if none. With every update, it kept its stability and reliability. I know a lot of you use Chrome today, use Zen browser, but before Chrome by Google, there existed Internet Explorer by good old Microsoft. You might say, well, Rando, there was no options back then, but there was, like Netscape Navigator. Even with this competition, Explorer made a name for itself by bundling the application with Windows and being people's first experience to the internet, which is one of Microsoft's greatest naming choices, Internet Explorer, that is so simple that children could understand it. Microsoft actually did good in the first 2 years of the browser. Internet Explorer included innovations like cascading style sheets and ActiveX, which allowed developers to create interactive content, the same technology that powered many goofy looking websites that we fondly look back to today. It also included many features that are now standard in every respectable browser today. Since most people back then weren't chronically online, Internet Explorer was all people needed. So back in the day, being online was mostly fun, and that's thanks to Internet Explorer. Games are the greatest form of entertainment today that excite many and are a big part of internet culture in general. I have to say, computer adoption wouldn't be as popular with kids and teens if games didn't exist back then. Just imagine if gaming computers weren't a thing, and kids would actually play outside, and the computer would be for adults. Like the only apps on there would be Calculator, Microsoft Suite, and Internet Explorer with too many tabs on. That would be terrible. Well, that could be good. Have you seen the children of today? These were the first digital games kids had back then, and honestly, they were good. They were not the most addicting games requiring kids to pay attention or cry. They were educational, challenging, and fun. They didn't overstay their welcome, and many we can remember today would include Microsoft Spider Solitaire. Microsoft Spider Solitaire is a classic card game where you have to stack all cards from king to ace in 8 foundational piles. With 2 cards and a mix of strategy and luck, you might win. Purple Place is a fun and colorful children's game, set in a cartoonish world where kids join and have interactive areas filled with fun mini games and activities. The game encourages creativity and problem solving with its various games, like Purple Pairs, which is a pattern recognition and memory game where you have to find a match in a bunch of cards. Comfy Cake, which is a food assembly game but with cake, and Purple Shop, where you customize your avatar. It understands the assignment and was a good game. Minesweeper, which I don't understand how to play still to this day. I mean, look at it. It looks like a prediction of me suffering trying to understand maths. It was fun trying though. These games were played by everyone, even by parents, and made their mark in everyone's minds. Movie Maker first came out in 2000 with Windows Me, and you might be thinking, Windows who? I know, me too. Windows had a lot of time before Xbox to come up with its good names. This was the video editor we all had during the early internet era, and was the tool used for many videos in early YouTube. Some people use it today, but it's mostly for the memes. Fun fact, Movie Maker let you upload to YouTube and other platforms directly, and I'm not sure if that would work today. Revisiting the program many years later, and at the same time feeling old, I have to say the software is fast and efficient. It never lags. All its features work with no problem, and it feels like solid software. The style will make you feel nostalgic, but it fits in well today. It looks good and runs wonderfully on my low-end laptop, unlike other software that will make my fans race just by scrolling the timeline. I think it will still be useful for introducing your child to technology. It was fun to use and easy to understand. Movie Maker does its job well with a fun and amateur feel of the 2000s packed with it. Notepad came out in 1983, which I was surprised that Notepad is that old. I mean, let that sink in. While it is basic in functionality, it's still important. It would be your digital library with infinite pages. Technically, there's a limit, but you would be gone before you reached it. Text files are incredibly small and efficient. Notepad features would include reading text files, making text files, and if you are a gamer, you most likely change the values for the INI files for those games. You've probably felt like a hacker man while you were adjusting the resolution. While there was very little there, that was all it functionally needed for a long time, and it was done well. Later on, tabs was added, which was a game changer alone, but it also got autocorrect and autosave too. These features alone would be okay for the next decade, but AI rewrite is another feature coming to Notepad. It feels like a golden age for Notepad, with more probably to come, so I think Notepad will stay with Windows for many more years. Now we end up with one of the best of them all, and one of the oldest. Paint released in late 1985 and is a simple raster graphic editor that has been included with all versions of Windows. I know we at least scribbled once with Paint, and some of us used it to draw silly little things that our parents would frame on the fridge. And then we have people who are supposed to be making art that sells millions instead of the money launderers that draw lines and throw paint on canvas. When I first saw Paint, I felt overwhelmed with the many colors, brushes, tools, and shapes. It felt like a lot of possibilities for little me. I use it today, and more so now, for quick photo editing. It recently added layers and dark mode, which made a huge difference. I could work on something for hours and fix a mistake I found just by removing that layer. It also helped my eyes with dark mode and the updated UI. There's also AI tools for it, but I don't use them. I think if Windows can add masks next, it would be a powerhouse image editor. Well, there we go for Microsoft apps that we appreciate. I know there are more apps that are great in their own right. That is probably for another video. Please tell me if you agree or disagree. What app should I talk about next? You can also tell me what you would like to know, and I'll probably make a video about it if it's worth talking about. I will see you just in another time.